everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Twitter, as well as the Carving It Up YouTube channel and the Grid Network YouTube channel. As always, I'm Bryson Carver, and I gotta say, today, not only am I in a great mood, and I don't bring out these shades unless I'm in a very, very, very good mood. Not only do I feel that way, I feel extremely, dare I say, patriotic in the greatest country in the world, United States of America, because Team USA, by the skin of their teeth, and it was close. It got dicey at times, ladies and gentlemen. They knocked off Serbia, 95-91. React to that game, extensive react to that game about Steph Curry, about LeBron James, about Kevin Durant, even little Joel Embiid sprinkled in there. I got to give him his props. He was great yesterday. As well as, I cannot wait to talk about this, some Steve Kerr commentary, because, oh my goodness, the basketball world is at what is Steve Kerr doing? I feel like I can make a better rotation than this guy. I mean, what the heck? That in about 15 minutes. Also, Jerry Joned never ceases to amaze me. He is something else. So a recent quote from Jerry Joned about CeeDee Lamb. You are not going to want to miss that in 30 minutes, and why it signifies the fact that the Cowboys have had the worst offseason potentially in team history. That, as well as the fact that, listen, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but is it at least on the table that Joe Milton could be the New England Patriots' best option at quarterback potentially? It's at least on the table. That in about 45 minutes or so. Tons to get into in the world of sports today. What the Warriors should do next after missing out on Lauri Markkenen. I think I'm going to shock you with my proclamation about what the Warriors need to do. Not even necessarily this offseason, but certainly during this football season, or this basketball season. My man Patrick Brown's the comments. What's up, Patrick? He says, happy Friday. Usain Bolt article, yes, is published on the 2008 Olympics. Check that out on the Grid Network website. But first, listen, I heard the chatter the last couple of weeks about one Steph Curry, about this allegedly aging player, a guy who's starting to show his age a little bit, but he sure looks 36 years old. He's not shooting well from the field. The three-point shot just isn't there. He's missing open looks, and I'll tell you what, man, LeBron's been better, and KD's been better, and Embiid's been playing better, and across the board, Booker's been better, and what is going on with Steph Curry? And then, boom! How about 36 points from the two-time MVP and four-time NBA champion? We can go and put up his stats. All stats provided by our friends at StatMuse. All graphics provided by my man Alfred Parsard Jr. Can we show what? No, that's the wrong stat. Let's show what Steph Curry did. 36 points, 8 rebounds, 12 for 19 for the field. How about 9 for 14 from three-point range? And most importantly, and this is critical and this is key, ladies and gentlemen, a plus 20 from the when he was on the floor. Keep in mind, this is a game that the Team USA won by 4 points over Serbia. Keep in mind, this is the fact I've heard it compared to when Carmelo Anthony back in 2012 dropped a Team USA record 37 points. Respect to Melo, one of the all-time great Olympians, one of the great scorers in NBA history. Here's the problem with that. This is not hyperbolic, what I'm about to say. It is absolutely true. In Melo's record-setting game, he did not score a single meaningful point. If you take, and here's why I say this, if you take away every point Carmelo Anthony scored, all 37, Team USA wins by 46 points. They win by 46 points without Melo's record-breaking 37. Steph's dropped to 36. It's only the 9th time in his career that he has hit 9 or more three-pointers. So Steph Curry, 9 or more three-pointers on that type of efficiency. Steph Curry was unbelievable, and he was joined by the two other old guys. Okay, we can give him love, give him the credit. Okay, this guy, Kevin Durant, all right? This guy as well, LeBron James. I had to wear this jersey one time because I lost a bet. That was no fun. And obviously, listen, Steph Curry, I got this jersey, wearing a Steph Curry jersey. Got to show love to the old heads because LeBron James, let's start with LeBron James, okay? This is a man who defies logic. And I used to call Tom Brady the great outlier. Like, you don't compare your 40-year-old quarterback to Tom Brady. It's not fair to the other 40-year-old quarterbacks. And I've called LeBron James a cyborg. Listen, I not only hate conspiracy theories, I detest them with every part of my being. That said, if an individual came to me and said, hey, Bryson, listen to this. LeBron James was built in a secret lab underground in the bowels of Akron, Ohio, I'd listen to it. Because what this man is doing defies logic. LeBron James dropped the second triple-double in the history of Team USA. since LeBron James did it back in 2012, you also consider the fact that LeBron, okay, was guarding Nikola Jokic in the fourth quarter. What, you might ask, did Nikola Jokic do in the fourth quarter? Well, the answer is virtually nothing. He scored 6 points. He had only 1 assist. By the way, Serbia proceeded to go over from three-point range after going berserk in the first 3 quarters of that basketball game. So LeBron shut down Jokic, the best player in all of basketball, and casually gave you a triple-double. And how about the Slim Reaper, the easy money sniper, Kevin Durant? Perfect in the fourth quarter, hit arguably the dagger shot potentially to put Team USA up by 4 with about 30 seconds to go. And if we could combine the stats of LeBron, Steph, and KD, because let's be real, this run, this Team USA roster is all about those guys because it's in all likelihood their very last Olympics. Put up the numbers right here, ladies and gentlemen. What did Steph Curry, King James, and the Slim Reaper do in the fourth quarter? 22 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. They go 9 for 13 from the field. Steph, LeBron, and KD also scored the final 13 points in the game for Team USA. And finally, here's a big stat down here. Team USA outscored Serbia 32-15 to rally from a 13-point deficit in the fourth quarter, and they were all timely shots. LeBron would get a layup. KD would hit. KD had a big 3 that ended up leading to Devin Booker getting a 3 to cut the lead from an 11-point Serbia lead to a 5-point Serbia lead. And really, Steph Curry talked about after, felt like it kind of turned the tide in that basketball game. It's about those 3 guys, primarily. And I'll get to Tatum, I'll get to Kerr later. We'll save that for later. But I've heard chatter. From Charles Barkley. From others. I mean, come on. You're in a close game with Serbia. Are you? Serbia? How could you be in a close game with Serbia? The Dream Team would never. Oh, the Dream Team would never be in a close game with Serbia. Oh, yeah. That Dream Team that in 1992, if you take the Dream Team away from the 1992 Olympics, there were a grand total of 6 NBA players in that entire tournament. This year, there's 42. You also, because of the fact that there was only one team in 1992, that was, I think, Croatia, that had more than one NBA player on their team. This year, there's 8. There's 8. Serbia is obviously one of them, and they just so happen to have the best player in the world today, Nikola Jokic, who is excellent. Bogdanovic hits the threes. Bogdanovic is doing that three the dome thing that Melo does. I don't know if he was trying to call out Melo. I don't know if there's any history there, what that was about. But Dream Team, they're never. That's because the Dream Team faced guys who couldn't even make the NBA G League team. Team USA just so happens to be facing the best player in all of basketball, and a Serbian team that has been dominant throughout the course of this tournament. They were at one point down 20, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was to France to come back and win that game. Serbia was fantastic throughout the course of this tournament. Frankly, I'm honest to God rooting for them to beat Germany in the bronze medal game. Serbia deserves to medal. They've earned that right. But the idea, this is what bothers me, and it sort of ties into the Kerr thing with the rotations with Jayson Tatum and otherwise, is the idea that this was supposed to be a blowout. And frankly, I will be totally candid. I was in that group. I was among the folks who said, Team USA is not going to be challenged throughout the rest of the tournament. I said that on Wednesday's show. Clearly, I'll be upfront. I was dead wrong on that. The idea that somehow, that diminishes Team USA? That diminishes the fact that LeBron had the second triple-double in the history of Team USA basketball. Diminishes the fact that Steph Curry dropped 36 and 9 3-pointers. That diminishes the fact that Kevin Durant is, the all-time leading scorer in the history of Team USA. And they're getting help from Joel Embiid. Listen, I think I can confidently say this, at the front, not on the train, at the front of the train that says, I don't think you can build a contender around Joel Embiid. I've seen him 3 times in a Game 7 in the Eastern Conference playoffs come up small against Toronto, against Atlanta, and against Boston. He was bad in all this, particularly against Boston, terrible in those Game 7s. That's the biggest game Joel Embiid's ever played. That's the best Joel Embiid has ever played in a big game. Joel Embiid, if we have the stats here, I believe he scored 18 points in this basketball game and was not great on the glass. He gave up some offensive rebounds. You'd like to see a better effort from him on the defensive side. He had his flaws. He had some rough moments. But every time Team USA would have a patch where it's like, oh, gosh, they're in trouble. Serbia's got them on the – Embiid would hit a mid-range jumper, or he drive past Jokic. He had a great pump fake on the baseline, got a dunk to help Team USA again keep the game close. Steph Curry was doing the same thing. So I could not possibly disagree more that this game somehow, folks, the Redeem Team. Oftentimes prior to this Olympics, who's the best team? 92 Dream Team or 08 Redeem Team? 08 Redeem Team was in a dogfight with Spain, who they've blown out in the past in the final game, in the gold medal game. And that team had prime Kobe Bryant, prime LeBron, prime Dwayne Wade. Chris Paul starting to come into his prime. That team was stacked. They were in a dogfight in the gold medal game. Virtually every Team USA team, at least the one that plays actual competition, seems to have at least one game where either there's a slip up, they don't take a team seriously. Frankly, I don't think that was the problem for Team USA. I do think they took Serbia seriously. Serbia just came to play, man. They were shooting the lights out from three-point range. But this game will go down to me in history as sort of one of the defining moments for the three guys, Steph, LeBron, KD. Certainly the three most iconic players of this generation. There's no doubt about that. In all likelihood, their last Olympics. But had Team USA lost, oh my gosh, especially from 90s players, Charles Barkley, I'm sure MJ would have had something. MJ don't talk much. MJ would have said something. Maybe a John Stockton. Chris Mullen may not have said anything because he covers Steph Curry with the Warriors. Chris Mullen might not have said anything. A Larry Bird. Magic Johnson. Magic likes to make his thoughts apparent on Twitter. So do I. Got no problem with that. But you'd have had all those players back in the 1990s. An age where the overwhelming majority of the talent in the game of basketball came from the United States. 6 NBA players outside of Team USA in 1992, 42 in 2024. The legions, certainly of Jordan fans, all that had come at LeBron, all that had come at Steph. Steph probably at that point leaves with no gold medals in his career. He would have been probably one of the only superstars in the history of the game of basketball, American stars, to not have a gold medal. Kevin Durant, despite his great Olympiad play, Kevin Durant's getting older. He couldn't come up big again. Those three guys could not have possibly come up more big. And last stat with Steph Curry, because again, this was the Steph Curry game. This was, in my mind, the greatest Olympic performance by a men's basketball player in Team USA history. Steph Curry, fun stat, only player to have 35 points in a game in the NBA, in college, and on Team USA. That is Wardell Stephen Curry II. That is what he does. That's what he's been doing throughout the course of his career, is greatness at the highest level, greatness when his team needs him most, and that's why Team USA won. Steph, by the way, who passed the ball to Steph on the go-ahead shot with about a minute left? It was LeBron James. Okay, who hit the go-ahead shot, the kind of the dagger shot with about 30 seconds left? Kevin Durant, who was perfect in the fourth quarter. This cements, assuming Team USA wins gold tomorrow, gets France, got one more. This, to me, cements KD as he's the most gifted scorer ever. This cements Steph as one of the greatest big games. Look at Steph's numbers in big games. Take out 2016 finals. The guy's great in elimination games, and obviously yesterday being one of them. Steph, one of the best big game performers in NBA history, and certainly the greatest shooter ever. That got established a while ago. And as far as LeBron James, I feel like we're kind of running out of arguments. Like the Jordan fans out there, can we at least be open? Can we be open to the possibility that maybe, just maybe, that a guy who's almost 40 years old is the best player on the best Team USA team and locks down the best player in the world in the fourth quarter? Is it at least on the table that the guy who has the only 2 triple-doubles in Team USA history maybe, just maybe, might be the best player of all time? It's a thought. It's something we should at least tinker with. Nonetheless, phenomenal win for Team USA. And by the way, as far as I'm concerned, probably the biggest win in the history of Team USA basketball. 08 Redeem Team's up there. You think about some of the women's teams in the mid to late 90s, kind of establishing women's basketball and the culture that they built there. I think this tops them all. This is the greatest talent that we've ever seen in an Olympic tournament in history in men's basketball. And Team USA was pushed to the brink. And the old guys, Curry, James, Durant, was who came through in the end. And Team USA is a win away from yet another gold medal. Phenomenal game. Like, phenomenal. I mean, I was literally not even kidding, sweating during the fourth quarter. It's phenomenal. Check the comments for me to Jayson Tatum, because that's what I really want to get into. Okay, Tim Barnard. I can take the shades off now because I had to give Steph some love. Tim says, Milton is not the answer, and the coaching staff is scared of May creating a controversy to start week 1. I said last night it was shameful that they only put May in for one series. I'll get to Milton later. And again, I'm not even necessarily saying he is or isn't the answer. I'm saying it's on the table, but I'll get to that in about 30 minutes. Here's what I do want to talk about. Let's talk about another Boston athlete. So Jayson Tatum didn't play last night. And Jayson Tatum didn't play last night. And the media backlash, oh my gosh. I mean, you would think Steve Kerr sat prime Michael Jordan. You would think that rather than the 2024 Olympic Games, that this is the 2024 local Little League Championship, where you got to play everybody just to make the parents feel good so they don't yell at you after the game, even though their kid stinks. You would feel like that's the vibe for Steve Kerr. So here's what the criticism of Steve Kerr has been: nothing short of, let me put it this way, unfounded in facts. And I'll explain why. So Kerr was asked after the game, hey, coach, why didn't you play Jayson Tatum? And he said, this isn't his exact quote, but this is essentially what he said: it's a math problem. It's a math problem. That's why we can't get Jayson Tatum on the floor, which is objectively a true statement. Here's why. And I saw Brian Windhorst, who, by the way, Brian Windhorst said that this will be a close game weeks ago. So kudos to Brian Windhorst. But he said that this morning on Get Up. I was watching him on ESPN. He said 10 players on Team USA average between 16 and 22 minutes per game. 16 and 22 minutes. So, and especially you consider that, and you consider that this was a game where Team USA was tested in this game like they've never been tested in their history. Take out 04 when they only got the bronze medal. Take out 04, biggest test in the history of men's Team USA basketball. I think even more so than the gold medal game in 08 against Spain. Okay, you're in a dogfight, and what do you do? This was a do-or-die game, right? This was in theory, they would have played another game on Saturday for bronze, but in theory, a win-or-go-home basketball game. And what do you do in those in the NBA playoffs? What does any smart coach do? Well, he shortens the rotations. He limits it to about 3 to 4 guys that are on the court basically all the time, and a couple of other role players. A Drew Holiday. I mean, Bam was getting minutes, and Curry yanked Bam. Anthony Davis at times was struggling defensively. He took Anthony Davis out. So Kerr was very strict, very tight with his rotations, as most coaches are in game 7s or in elimination games in the playoffs. That's how it works, believe it or not. But even more than that, and Alfred put together this graphic. I was able to find this as I was doing research, as I was prepping for the show tonight. So all those that are saying, it's a trap. How does Tatum doesn't hit the floor? What is going on? Does Steve Kerr even know what he's doing? He shouldn't even be a coach in the NBA for all I'm concerned. I'm about to put up a Jayson Tatum graphic that is going to blow your mind. So all of these stats we're going to show is on a per game basis, not a total, because Jayson Tatum didn't play that opening game ironically against Serbia. He didn't play yesterday against Serbia. There's been some games he has not hit the floor. Okay? This is a per game stat. On Team USA, I'm going to read this graphic and then show you the last part of it. On Team USA, Jayson Tatum, 3rd worst in points per game. Worst in, by the way, averages 6.3 points per game, 3rd worst on the team. Averages shooting 38% from the field, worst on the team. 0% from 3-point range, obviously worst on the team. These are per game stats. You ready for the kicker? Now we'll go and put up the graphic. Jayson Tatum is 5th on Team USA in minutes per game. Let that sit for a moment. Jayson Tatum is 5th on Team USA in terms of minutes per game. And he's putting up easily the worst numbers and has given you virtually no production whatsoever, playing on average, I want to repeat this, the 5th most minutes per game. I would pose the question to those who are saying, why didn't Jayson Tatum play? I'd turn that question around. Why should he play? Well, Bryce, he was first team All-NBA. Then why is so is that how we should base it off of now? So then by that logic, Jrue Holiday shouldn't start, right? I mean, Jrue Holiday, he's not like he's been making big corner threes throughout the tournament and playing fantastic defense. So Jrue Holiday, I want to get this right. Jrue Holiday shouldn't start, right? The best guard of the defensive guard of this generation should not start. Should not get more minutes than Jayson Tatum, despite objectively playing better. He should get more minutes than Steph Curry, who just had the greatest Team USA game ever. He should get more minutes than the all-time Team USA leading scorer, Kevin Durant. He should get more minutes than LeBron James, who, I don't know, is almost shooting 70% from the field. He should get more minutes than Anthony Davis, who's been awesome defensively throughout this tournament, save for yesterday. Jokic kind of cooked him. He should get more minutes than Bam Adebayo, who's led Team USA in scoring. He should get more minutes than Anthony Edwards, who's led Team USA in scoring. He should get more minutes than those guys. Then Devin Booker, who had a massive three late in the game or midway through the fourth quarter to really get Team USA back in that game. He should get more minutes than Joel Embiid, who had his best game ever in a big game, and I've been critical of Embiid, but he was great yesterday. Where does he fit? That's my question. And it's the criticism of Kerr is, again, and by the way, I want to be fully honest with y'all. I've been a Jayson Tatum defender throughout the years. I have. Jayson Tatum's been one of my most over-criticized players in the league in my mind. But I got to go by what I see and what the numbers scream at you. And for the record, call me crazy. It feels like, Grant Hill, who runs Team USA basketball, and listen, he should have put Jaylen Brown on the team. I get it. He should have been on the team. Feels like maybe he could have picked literally any coach he wanted to, and he picked Steve Kerr, the 4-time champion coach. I think he's won 9 championships overall as a player and coach. I think Steve Kerr knows a thing or two about what J.K. Simmons say in the commercials. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. I think Steve Kerr's seen a thing or two when it comes to rotations. He made one of the greatest rotation changes in the history of the NBA Finals back in 2015 by inserting Andre Iguodala. Feels like that should matter. Again, and by the way, I don't want this to diminish Tatum as a player because I don't think it should. We've seen guys show up at the Olympics. Listen, Melo, for example. Like, I wasn't a huge Melo guy throughout his career. Guy was an awesome player to the Olympics. You know why? Because he fit. This was a game last night against a Serbian team that was quick and that was big and could shoot. Jrue Holiday is a more versatile defender. LeBron James, did you see what he did on Jokic? Did you see how he shut the guy down? It was great. Steph Curry picking up guys full court. He was showing up on the defensive end of the floor. Kevin Durant had a huge steal, huge defensive stop rather, late in the fourth quarter to help Team USA get the W. Embiid did a solid, now not on Jokic, but in general did a pretty solid job defensively. So again, not only did the numbers back it up, the math backs it up, the eye test backs it up. You know what else backs it up? Team USA hasn't lost. They haven't lost. Again, if Tatum was putting up a performance, like one of the better players on the team, listen, that's a reasonable complaint. That's a reasonable, okay, Kerr's making a mistake here. What is he doing? He's been the worst player on the team. Put up the stat one more time. Tatum's 5th on the team in minutes per game. He's the 3rd worst in points per game, worst in field goal percentage, worst in three-point percentage. 5th in minutes per game. So he's gotten his opportunities. Heck, he started some games. He started against South Sudan. I think it seemed like, if I remember correctly, he started against Puerto Rico the game after that in group stage play. So the idea that, Kerr's screwing him over. I mean, what is Steve Kerr? He's been terrible. Everybody on Team USA has been better than this guy. And again, it's not that Tatum's bad. It's not that Tatum wasn't deserving of being first team All-NBA a year ago. None of this diminishes anything what Jayson Tatum's done. By the way, close that game in the finals against Dallas. He's great. The best player on the floor. He's great. But you got to go by what you're doing in the here and now. What Janet Jackson say? What have you done for me lately? Tatum's been bad. He's been really bad. Well, Bryce said, why was Steph Curry playing up until yesterday? A, because he's Steph effing Curry. He's Wardell Stephen Curry II. He's one of the 10 greatest basketball players to ever touch the floor. Secondly, if you watch Steph, and again, I've argued this with Steph haters over the years with the Warriors, watch the space that Steph creates on the floor. By the way, his plus minus screams it. Plus 20 when Steph was on the floor, minus 36 when he was off the floor. So, again, I have been shocked. Charles Barkley, Stephen A. Smith, people I respect. I love Chuck, love Stephen A. But Tatum's gotten his opportunity, and he hasn't been good at all. If you watch him, he's missed layups, he's missed open jumpers, he's missed finishes at the rim. He's struggled. This is a do-or-die game. Your season, the hopes and dreams of getting Steph a gold medal and LeBron and KD one last gold medal goes up in smoke if you lose this game yesterday. Obviously, by the result, Kerr probably was right sticking with those guys, those three guys, Steph, LeBron, KD, because they scored 22 in the fourth and their last 13 points in the game. Love Tatum. If this fuels Tatum next year, God bless him. It should. I think it was do this to any competitor. And by the way, Jaylen Brown not even getting to make Team USA. This probably bodes pretty well for the Boston Celtics. Good for them. But Jayson Tatum is not a good fit in this Team USA team. And his performance screams it. He has not been good. And Kerr was correct in not playing him. So, listen, I've argued with Gen Z Warriors fans who hate Steve Kerr over the years. The Gen Z Warriors fans who still think Jordan Poole was good at basketball consistently. And about Kerr's rotation. I mean, if Kerr's rotations would have been better, they'd have beaten Sacramento in the playing game. Or the fact that Klay Thompson didn't play well and Steph was shaky and, maybe that hurt them as well. I don't know. I mean, people are talking about Steve Kerr like he's Darvin Ham. I mean, what is going on? My goodness. And by the way, guess what? Team USA's in the gold medal game. Something's working. Sorry, I was just fired up about that. I mean, I'm watching the coverage. I'm like, are they seeing what I'm seeing? Like, we are watching different games right now. We've been watching a different Team USA tournament throughout the Olympics. It is mind-boggling. Truly. Oh, man, John Rivera's going to come in. Kerr's overrated. At what? And listen, John Jones is my guy. He's one of the best human beings in the world. And listen, we go at it on Red Sox Yankees, but I want to know what makes Kerr overrated. Because the one thing that when people say that, usually the first thing they go to is, well, Mark Jackson did what Mark Jackson did. He took over a bad situation. He helps Steph get better. And listen, I want to be as clear as day. Mark Jackson has been screwed over by the NBA. The fact that man has not gotten a head coaching job in 10 years is a freaking crime. That said, there was a ceiling on how far the Warriors could go with Mark Jackson. In large part because he ran the whole offense with Steph Curry on the basketball. With Steph Curry, and not that Steph Curry can't play on ball, but we've seen. Anytime a team, we've seen it with Westbrook back in Westbrook's prime, when Westbrook was still great, winning an MVP. When you've got a guy who's just on the ball constantly, it's what I criticized the Mavericks for. It's what I criticized the Rockets or whoever James Harden has been with in his career. Stop being so on-ball dependent on your star player. Move the basketball. And all due respect to Mark Jackson, that just wasn't his philosophy. That doesn't mean he wasn't important to the Warriors. Steph Curry, Draymond Green will tell you, the biggest thing Mark Jackson did is he built confidence. You felt great about yourself with Mark Jackson, the head coach, which, by the way, is crucial to an NBA coach, and it's why it's ridiculous that man has not gotten hired since the Warriors fired him 10 years ago. Steve Kerr took this to another level. Like, Klay Thompson was not an all-star before Steve Kerr. Draymond Green didn't start before Steve Kerr. He took a roster that was really good, had a lot of... Listen, my first year as a Warriors fan was Mark Jackson's last year. You saw what was there. They took the Clippers to a 7th and decisive game in the first round, the prime Lob City Clippers. Steve Kerr takes over, implements a whole new style of offense, more of an emphasis on the defensive end, and guess what? You get a dynasty out of it. So, listen, that's not to diminish Mark Jackson in the slightest, and I cannot say this clearly enough. He should be an NBA coach today. No question about it. But Steve Kerr has been a godsend for Golden State. There's no question about it. Steph goes from All-Star in 2014 to league MVP back-to-back years. That's not to diminish Steph, by the way, because Steph, listen, but Michael Jordan didn't win championships with Phil Jackson. Like, the overwhelming majority of great players in this league, I mean, even LeBron. Who did LeBron win a championship with? Eric Spoelstra, Ty Lue. Now, Frank Vogel's not as bad as a coach as some people make it out to be. You know, he's not as good as those guys. LeBron won with Spo, with Ty Lue. Jordan won with Phil Jackson. Kobe Bryant won with Phil Jackson. Shaquille O'Neal won with Phil Jackson and Pat Riley. Magic Johnson won with Pat Riley. Like, you look at the champions throughout history with great players like Giannis winning with Bud is kind of impressive. You know what I'm saying? Like, so throughout history, great players need great coaches. All-time great coaches to build dynasties. And that's what the Warriors have had. So, and listen, what you heard right there was a guy who, listen, I've heard the Steve Kerr slander over the years, particularly over the course of the offseason, the idea that Steve Kerr was the basically the Achilles heel for the Warriors a season ago. No, and by the way, Draymond Green's my guy, but Draymond getting suspended twice and missing extensive time, given how important he is to the Warriors, that was what did the Warriors in last season. That, and they didn't have a consistent score next to Steph, which I'll tell you who they should get at the end of the show, who could fill that void now that they missed out on Markkenen. So stay tuned for that. All right, let's transition to football. And if we're going to transition to off-season NFL training camp talk, it's fitting that we start with... How about them Cowboys? Yeah! Whew. I tell you, the Cowboys never fail to give me topics, and that is what... Listen, as a former Cowboys fan, I have the deepest compassion and sympathies to those who stuck with this franchise. Y'all tougher than I am. Y'all way tougher than I am for having to put up with this. So Dak Prescott needs a contract. Micah Parsons doesn't need a contract yet, but you'd like to get him locked in as soon as possible. CeeDee Lamb's not in training camp. CeeDee Lamb's holding out. CeeDee Lamb is not with the Cowboys. He's collecting fines. He's not with the Dallas Cowboys right now. Jerry Joned, and we'll play the soundbite for you, was asked, is there an urgency to get CeeDee Lamb's deal done? And try and parse this together, but this is what Jerry said.
Are you saying there's a sense of urgency as you begin the preseason to get CD done?
No.
No? Why you say that?
I'm I went to high school or I went to college. I don't know why I said it, but I'm just saying I don't know. I don't have a sense of urgency about getting it done.
Huh? I don't even know what to make of that. That was because I went. Why don't I have a sense of urgency? Because I went to high school. What? I don't know if Jerry was trying to just say just anything to say no. I don't know what he was trying to do there. So look, CeeDee Lamb's going to get paid eventually. At this point, I assumed, CeeDee's going to stay with Dallas. Now I'm not so certain. Because CeeDee Lamb retweeted this and just put 3 letters, LOL. So throughout the course of last season, and I did pick the Cowboys to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl and lose to Kansas City. Clearly, I was dead wrong on the Dallas side of it. My case was this, that as limited as the Cowboys, not only roster, but in particular their offensive line was getting older, was declining, but Ty Smith's still a productive player. Zach Martin's still a productive player. They had some good solid guys in that line. Brandon Cooks is a good player. Jake Ferguson, solid tight end. Some okay pieces, kind of average, but okay pieces on the Cowboys offense that they could get to the Super Bowl in what I thought was a weak NFC on the back of Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Now, clearly I was wrong. Neither played well in that playoff game against Green Bay. Nobody played well in that playoff game against Green Bay. But I talked about, and I did throughout the course of last season, particularly at the end, and it didn't think I'd have to emphasize it as much in the offseason until we got to week 1. But given the fact CeeDee Lamb's holding out and Jerry Joned, you heard him right there. There's no urgency to sign the guy. Figured I might as well read the stat on my phone and then put up this other graphic that really encapsulates how important CeeDee Lamb is to the Dallas Cowboys. Because I could argue, outside of Christian McCaffrey, take quarterbacks out. CeeDee might be the most, not the best, but the most valuable player to any offense in the National Football League, non-quarterback. So CeeDee Lamb last year led the NFL in catches, second in receiving yards, third in touchdowns. So he had a great year. First team all pros. Great. Here's what is more important to me, and to me, this shows his value. This shows how thin the Cowboys offense is and how much Dak had to rely on the great CeeDee Lamb to get the job done. Let's go and put up the stat, okay? So CeeDee Lamb had 988 yards more than the next closest player on the Cowboys. He had 64 more catches than the next closest player on the Cowboys. And he had 79 targets more than the next closest player on the Dallas Cowboys. He also happened to have, we didn't put this up there for a reason, but I'll explain why. He had 7 more 100-yard games than the next closest player on the Dallas Cowboys. For those wondering, CeeDee Lamb had 8 games going over 100 yards. Only one other guy went over 100 yards, and he did it one time, Brandon Cooks. That's it. So, in other words, it was if Dak and CeeDee Lamb did not have it going, the Cowboys offense went to hell. That was it. I put up those numbers to show. Might as well say this while the graphics back up there. 988 yards more than the next closest player on the Cowboys, 64 more catches more than the next closest player on the Cowboys, and 79 targets more than the next closest player on America's team. Why does that matter? That's the largest discrepancy in the league last year between the number one receiver in those categories, yards, catches, targets. The biggest discrepancy between 1 and 2 of any team in football. In other words, the gap between CeeDee Lamb and the next best receiver on the Cowboys is bigger than any team in professional football. At least that was the case a year ago. Frankly, I have no reason to believe that that's not going to change. That's going to change this year because I don't think the Cowboys got better at that position. Cooks is back. Okay, he's a year older. And again, as I always say, there's a reason Brandon Cooks is playing on 6 teams? Jake Ferguson's fine. Like him. May have the potential to get better and be kind of like Dak Prescott's new Dalton Schultz. Who knows? But Dalton Schultz was a good tight end. He was nowhere near a Pro Bowl guy. So the fact, and it goes to my larger point, that the Cowboys had, to me, not only the worst offseason in the NFL, just relative to where they were at, this might go down as one of the worst offseasons, if not the worst in Cowboys franchise history. Because as I continuously say, so Dallas had a great regular season. Dak was phenomenal. Lamb was phenomenal. McCarthy was a clear upgrade. Whatever you say about McCarthy, and I've had my criticisms, but just clear upgrade over Kellen Moore in terms of calling plays. I think that's obvious. It's the very reason I don't really buy Philadelphia this year is because Kellen Moore is their OC. But they flame out in the playoffs to Green Bay in epic fashion. So Jerry Joned, that day and the couple of months after leading into free agency in March, had a decision to make. Okay, I've got 2 routes to go here. Because clearly what we have now, it's good enough to get us blown out at home as the 2 seed to the youngest playoff team in a half century. So that's not going to work, just keeping things as is. Either we're just not good enough. We've done all we can do. We don't feel like Dak's the guy. Lamb's great, but Micah Parsons fades at the end of the season, and just blow it up. Sell the farm, if you will. Do what we've seen teams in the past. I remember the 2013 Red Sox did this. 2013 Red Sox won the World Series, came back the next year, were terrible, and they traded most of their good players to contenders. Dallas could have done that. Or they could have said, we're close. We saw something we liked in the regular season. It's the most impressive offensive regular season that we've had. The best Dak Prescott we've ever seen. The best CeeDee Lamb we've ever seen. And McCarthy was an upgrade over Kellen Moore. We're going to add to it. And if we can't get it done then it's just on the players. But we did our job. Instead, they sat and did nothing. And not only let important players like Tyron Smith walk out the back door, and Dorrance Armstrong, good pass rusher, walk out the back door, but they're now sitting in a position where coach is a lame duck. Quarterback, it's weird to call, I don't think Dak's really a lame duck. He's going to get paid regardless. The biggest contract in NFL history. So Dak's going to get paid, just not by the Cowboys. Quarterback's in the last year of his deal. Coach is on the last year of his deal. Defensive coordinator of the last year of his deal. CeeDee Lamb, unsigned. In a wide receiver market where the highest paid receiver in the game was Tyreek Hill at $30 million at the beginning of the offseason. We're now in a spot where Justin Jefferson is the highest paid receiver at $35 million. So rather than getting it done earlier and saving a lot of money, getting Dak's deal done, which you know you can do when you sign a quarterback or any player for that matter, but especially quarterbacks because they take up the majority of your salary cap. What could they have done with Dak Prescott? Well, basic cap economics. You sign Dak and you finagle the cap, you push the majority, you backload the contract to free up a ton of cap space. Instead, Dak's one of the biggest cap hits in the league. And, although the Cowboys spend barely any money, as I talked about a couple of weeks ago, they're a cheap franchise. They don't get enough credit for that. But you have more flexibility to, I don't know, do what Jerry Joned said you do, and that's go all in. I don't even think you can necessarily call it gaslighting anymore, because Jerry's not saying all in, although, who knows, maybe tomorrow he will. Jerry is an interesting character. But it is, they had two options to go, and they chose neither and did nothing, and they got worse. They lost Tyron Smith. The O-line got worse. The receiving core isn't good, except for CeeDee Lamb, who is holding out because they won't pay him when they should have paid him earlier in the offseason, and that could have saved up cap space, just like they should have paid Dak Prescott, backloaded that new contract, which would have saved cap space. I'm telling you, I think folks are starting to catch on to what I've said for a while, and it's the very reason I, by the way, stopped being a Cowboys fan midway through 2020, is this is one of the poorest run franchises in professional sports. Don't let the flashy players, don't let a great player like a Dak, a CeeDee Lamb, a Micah Parsons, Zach Martin, don't let Trayvon Diggs, don't let those guys fool you. Aside from those guys, roster is, it's probably below average. Certainly the offensive skill position group is objectively below average. The numbers bear that out, as I just showed you there. Don't let that fool you, and don't let this continuous mismanagement of the cap, mismanagement of the vibes in Dallas are bad. The coach doesn't know if he's going to be there long term. The DC, Mike Zimmer, was only there for a year, only on a one-year contract. I have been truly blown away with how much Dallas has messed up this offseason. It is remarkable to me. And hearing Jerry say, there's no sense of urgency. Hey, Jerry, why is there no sense of urgency to sign CeeDee Lamb? Because I went to high school. Huh? Listen. I'm telling you, Cowboys fans got it rough as anybody. They got it rough as anybody. And I mean, this is why I say when people are like, oh, Belichick's not going to Dallas. Are you kidding me? Well, Belichick's friendly with Jerry. Yes, so was Sean Payton. I mean, Sean Payton was going to go back there. Remarkable. And this is, by the way, one of the biggest reasons that I defend Dak the way I do. He's got to deal with this every single day for the last 9 years. Utterly incompetent ownership and football decision-making people in the front office. Jerry Joned, Stephen Jones, everybody. And I don't really know what to make of Dallas this year. The only thing I do know is that they're not a Super Bowl contender. I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, if they weren't, I thought they were last year. Clearly they weren't, because we saw what happened in the playoffs. If that team got worse in the offseason, and the NFC got better, don't see a scenario in which that team can compete for a Super Bowl. Best case, they win a playoff game. They don't go further than that. And then Dak walks, and this team goes from pretty good with excellent players to, in almost a second, they're a bad football team. Dak's gone. I don't know what's going to happen with CeeDee Lamb. Micah Parsons probably stays. Zach Martin retires. I mean, they will be in and by the way, Dallas, as I've talked about extensively, won't go deep into today. They get very lucky when it comes to quarterbacks. Romo was undrafted. Dak was a fourth rounder and wasn't even the number one quarterback on Dallas's board in terms of getting a backup for Tony. So, I mean, they wanted Paxton Lynch and Connor Cook more than Dak Prescott during the 2016 draft. So they lucked into the guy. It's the idea that they're going to either luck into one or, well, Bryce, what they draft somebody. Hey, Shedeur Sanders, who won't stop getting into Twitter arguments with people. He won 4 games last year in a week, Big 12. I'm sorry, the Big 12's week this year. So we'll see what Shedeur does. But won 4 games last year. If that's your answer. Trey Lance, who couldn't even work in Kyle Shanahan's offense, if that's your answer, good luck. Have fun with that. While Dak Prescott's in Pittsburgh competing for a Super Bowl. I'm telling you. Dallas is something else, man. Jerry especially. My gosh. All right, let's go to the Patriots. So I think they're projected by most, I think fairly, to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. I think that's fair. They have probably the worst offensive personnel in football. I think, aside from maybe Ramondre Stevenson, I don't think there's a single team. Carolina is a possible exception. I'm not sure how many teams that their starting offense would start for. Starting skill position guys would start for. I mean, it's bad. And they're trying to figure out who their quarterback is. They brought back Jacoby Brissett, who feels like, kind of a placeholder. We've seen teams do that. They draft Drake May with the 3rd overall pick out of North Carolina. And Drake May is a guy who I said coming into that draft and have said since, because we've yet to see him really play at the next level, because he was kind of an uneven year last year at North Carolina, is I feel like Drake May is going to be one of two things: awesome or god-awful. Like he's a very raw prospect. The arm strength is there, and you can kind of build around that, but the decision-making is really bad. We've seen quarterbacks in the past. That's been the case. You can coach it out of them in many cases and kind of polish up a raw prospect like a Drake May. So Drake's going to be he's very Josh Allen-esque, except Josh obviously had a better arm and was more mobile. But Josh came in the league. It's like, what do we do with this guy? How do we, and kudos to the Bills staff, Brian Dable when he was there, helped develop Josh Allen into a top 5 quarterback. We'll see what happens with Drake May. But they, interestingly, 6th round, take Joe Milton out of the University of Tennessee. Go Vols. Now, I tend to be overwhelming. I'm like the Tennessee guy. I have a segment every year during the college football season called the Vol View, and it's coming back this year. Tennessee, I think, is absolutely a college football playoff team with the new extended 12-team format. I'll talk more about that in a few weeks when Tennessee opens up their season. But I was very, what's the word I could look for? Not skeptical of Joe Milton, but I liked him. I didn't love him. Here's the thing about Joe Milton you got to realize. I think people saw it last night in what was a pretty impressive preseason performance against the Carolina Panthers, albeit the Carolina Panthers 3rd stringers. But Joe Milton yesterday, you see what he did: 4 for 6, 54 yards, a touchdown, pass ring of 134.7. And by the way, was 3rd on the team in rushing. He had a great, like Cam Newton-esque scrambling play. It was really impressive in the time that he got in the field. The first thing, if you ever watch Joe Milton on TV or like I have in person, the first thing you're going to see is, good God almighty, he can throw the football from here to Canada. The guy is, I honestly believe this, and I hope someday, somehow, some way we get to see this. This isn't even a shot at Josh Allen, because you know what I think about him in terms of his arm strength. I think there's a chance that Joe Milton could beat Josh Allen in terms of a who can throw the ball further contest, or can throw the ball harder contest. I mean, they've clocked Milton now, and it's a college football, not an NFL ball, so it's, smaller football, but they clocked it at like 76 miles per hour that it can come off his hand. Like, it's crazy. That said, he doesn't see the field particularly well. He tends to be a guy who makes a read a half second later than you want him to, and therefore he'll overthrow a guy, underthrow a guy, or just make a bad decision. Which, to be honest, does that not sound a little bit like Drake May in some ways? I'm not saying Milton necessarily as good of a prospect as Drake May. There's a reason May went with the 3rd pick and Milton went in the 6th round. But I don't think that it is an insane thing to say that Joe Milton might be the Patriots' best option, just in terms of upside and playing right now. Because Brissett's the best guy to play right now because he's got experience in the league. In terms of upside, Milton is in the ballpark with May, and he's played far more college football. He's 24 years old. He's an old rookie. And those guys tend to not be franchise quarterbacks, Joe Burrow being the exception. He was an older player coming out of college. But again, I don't think it is a crazy statement to make that is he upside as well as experience the best guy right now for the Patriots. Now, they'd be better suited playing Drake May because they'd spend not the 1st round pick on him, the 3rd pick on him. I don't know. It's now, again, May only played 1 series, 2 for 3, 19 yards, pass rate of 84. He didn't really get to see much of him, so we'll see who wins the Patriots' next preseason game. They got Philadelphia next Thursday it's on NFL Network, so it'll be on national television. We'll see what my man Rob Mayo out of Tennessee decides to do there. But again, the reports coming out of Foxborough, part of the reason that I'm leaning Milton is, and by the way, I'm a Tennessee fan who was kind of skeptical of Milton. I love Hendon Hooker. Listen, I think that guy is going to be really, really good in Detroit when he gets his opportunity. The guy, he truck a linebacker or a safety in the game yesterday? He was great. Love Hendon Hooker. Was very skeptical of Milton because he was extremely inconsistent in what was a quarterback tailor-made offense at Tennessee under Josh Heupel. But the reports coming out of Foxborough have said, oh, Milton's been better than May. I think there was one point they said like 6 straight practices. Joe Milton was better at camp than Drake May was. So that sort of goes to, and that doesn't mean Milton's going to be the better player. It just means, in my estimation, Milton's more ready now than May is. So for the Patriots in the situation that they're in, they want to know, do they have their guy or not? I think they're much better suited at playing Milton. May's not ready. May is flat. May's young. May's more raw than Milton. And Jacoby Brissett is there to keep them on the bench. Again, placeholder. Brissett has a place in this league. I think they're better served starting Joe Milton in week 1. And it's a bizarre situation where your late round pick is more ready to play than your early round pick, but we've seen it before in the NFL. I mean, Josh Allen, rookie year, wasn't very good. Josh Allen wasn't quite ready to play yet. So, I know it's going to be a really, today's August 9th. We've got, what we got, a little less than a month. Before the Patriots open in Cincinnati in week 1. I am really, really fascinated to see what Jerome Mayo wants to do here. Because this is going to be his first big decision as the head coach of the Patriots. My guess is he probably goes with Brissett, just based off veteran, bridge quarterback. Again, kind of Brissett, I've always said, is in like the low-end starter, high-end backup category. I don't know. It's been a rough 4 years for New England since Bill pushed Tom out the back door. It was really rough. But I don't know. I feel like Milton, there's more incentive to play Milton now because May's flat out not ready right now. I feel like there's more incentive to play Milton now than Brissett. But Jerome Mayo knows more about football than me, so we'll see what he does. All right, last topic of the day. Speaking of either dead dynasties or fading dynasties, let's talk about my Warriors. So, we got some pretty rough news earlier in the week. The fact that Lauri Markkenen signed a long-term extension with the Utah Jazz, which the reason that's bad is because of the day. It's very complicated, but because of the day that Lauri Markkenen signed, based on the NBA calendar in terms of their CBA, he cannot be traded this year. So Lauri Markkenen will be a Utah Jazz for the entirety of the 2024-2025 NBA season. Whether he'll be traded in the 25 offseason, who knows? We'll see what Utah wants to do if they tank for Cooper Flagg. I don't know. But Lauri Markkenen definitively will not be a Warrior this upcoming season, which was a tough blow for the Warriors, and frankly for Warriors fans like myself, because of the fact that, to me, the key objective for the Warriors this offseason, you owe it to Steph to put one last contending team together. Now, do I think the Warriors are a better basketball team today than they were 7 months ago? Yeah, I do. Klay Thompson, God bless him. I'm pulling like crazy for him in Dallas. He seems to be more happy. It was a rough last couple of years for him in Golden State. And if Klay Thompson is a happy guy, then I'm happy for Klay. And I hope he makes a great impact with the Dallas Mavericks. It shows me I think Dallas is going to change their style of offense. I think Klay will fit there well if they change the way they play a little bit, which would be beneficial. But you replace Klay with Buddy Hield, Kyle Anderson, among other signings for the Golden State Warriors. DeAnthony Melton was who I was thinking about. If you put those 3 guys together, they give you more than what Klay gave you. Not to mention Steph. I think yesterday's a pretty good example. Steph's still awesome, and Draymond still, the numbers bared out last year, very impactful for the Warriors, which is why his 2 suspensions were devastating for Golden State. And you have Jonathan Kuminga, and you have Brandon Podziemski, 2 guys who I think Kuminga's ceiling is off the chain. The question is, can he get to that while Steph is still at the end of his prime? Which is why I said, if you get Lauri Markkenen, who's an all-star, who's a 20-plus point per game guy, double-double machine, you pair that up with Steph, pair that with Draymond, I'm sorry, Western Conference, that team can absolutely win the West. Now, saying they would, I think OKC right now is my favorite. I think OKC's got the best team in the Western Conference today, but Golden State could compete with OKC. There was a few games last year Golden State should have beaten OKC. If not for a foul and a three-point play, it was a rough early season for Golden State. Like all businesses, smartly run businesses, which I think the Warriors have proven themselves to be just that, when things don't work out, when plans don't materialize, and it doesn't sound by reporting by multiple sources in the Bay Area like the Warriors were terribly intent on getting Markkenen, because they wouldn't include Brandon Podziemski or Jonathan Kuminga, from what I've heard, in trade talks with the Jazz. It was mostly draft picks and Moses Moody. That's what I've been told. Draft picks and Moses Moody for Markkenen. That would have been an absolute steal by the Warriors if they just have to get Moody and draft picks, and you keep Kuminga and Podziemski. But Danny Ainge is a deal maker. Danny Ainge loves to make trades that are perfect for his side of the negotiating table. Not faulting him for that, but that's how he does business. There's no way he's going to make that deal. I think the Warriors are going to go into this upcoming season pretty much with the roster they have. They may add a Cam Johnson in free agency. I've heard Kyle Kuzma. I don't know if I love the Kuzma fit, but Cam Johnson could be a good pickup for the Warriors, available free agents. But by and large, Golden State to me is going to enter this season 2 months from now with the roster that they got. And I think there is pressure on Steph and Draymond, particularly because those are the guys that lead the ship, to have this team 5th in the Western Conference, 6th in the Western Conference, as a solid team, beating contending teams in the West, but they just don't have enough firepower to get to the upper echelon of the Western Conference. Because in late in games, it's like Steph and who else is going to help him? Is it going to be Wiggins? Is it going to be Kuminga? Is he matured into the player that can do that? Steph and Draymond's job, I want to have this on the record because I think this is very much on the table. Steph Curry and Draymond Green's job this upcoming NBA season for the first 4 months, keep the Warriors in reasonable playoff contention. Whether it's the very top of the play-in standings around the 7 seed, or best case will be great is around like that 5 seed, like kind of where the Mavericks were. Mavericks who made the finals last year, where the Mavs were a year ago. Kind of middle of the pack, 5 seed, 6 seed, around that ballpark. And show the front office, hey, we've got the guys. We just need one more key piece. I'm not saying Giannis is off the board. I don't know how happy Giannis is in Milwaukee. I've speculated about that for a while. My guess is they'll have to give up like a king's ransom. You'll have to get another team involved. Giannis to the Warriors seems pretty darn unlikely. I think if the Warriors get Giannis, they're the favorites in the West, I think. But that seems pretty unlikely. So what do we know about the Olympics? And this ties into what I'm saying about the Warriors, so follow me. What do we know about, in particular, relationships among the players? There's some recruiting going on. I think it would be disingenuous to say otherwise. You got some guys talking to other guys and saying, hey, I mean, by the way, it was my fear for Steph going to the Olympics that somebody could lure him out of Golden State. I think the Warriors, it's August now. I think they have a 10-month time span to put a contender around Steph, or I think he's going to ask out next summer, which scares the you-know-what out of me. So I think the front office needs to be very proactive, and I think there's the potential it could be for this reason. Who's to say? Who are these Olympics about? Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant. Now, I've speculated, many have speculated, man, Steph and LeBron, okay, do you imagine that? Now that Bronny's in LA, I think I've just about given up on that dream, at least for this upcoming season, but I think I've just about given up on that possibility. Who says Kevin Durant at the Phoenix Suns are having a season like they did a year ago? He's trapped with an owner who does not know what the heck he's doing, with a Bradley Beal who struggles to stay healthy, and a Mike Budenholzer who, don't we kind of have questions about him late in games, late in the seasons? If the Phoenix Suns are a 500 basketball team, kind of like they were a year ago, hovering around that 500 spot in the play-in tournament, KD is Steph's age, but he's played longer in the league. And KD's got much more pressure to get a championship, post-prime, post-Warriors, not just Warriors dynasty, but Warriors as the greatest team ever assembled back in 2017. The Warriors would not be that today if they added Kevin Durant. But who's to say Steph hasn't talked to KD and KD, we had some good days. We had some good days back in between 2016 and 2019, you and I. Steve Kerr, who, by the way, Steve Kerr just came out today, is going to start Kevin Durant tomorrow against France in the gold medal game. I agree with that decision. KD's been great. You and I at the end of our careers, we're both 35, 36 years of age. One last hurrah, my man. What do you say? The only thing that I think could bar that is Draymond Green. Not necessarily by any fault of Draymond Green, but the fact that he and Kevin Durant, we know they've been on better terms. They've taken shots over the course of last season. They took some shots at times at each other in the media. But if Steph went to Draymond and said, Draymond, we can get Kevin Durant back at the building. If we get Kevin Durant, who's to say we can't win at all? KD's still averaging 27 a game on crazy efficiency. He's still awesome. I'm still great. You're still valuable. Coach Kerr knows what he's doing, contrary to what the idiots watching Team USA or not watching Team USA are saying. I think, again, when you think about big midseason trades, oftentimes you got to think, okay, what's the situation most likely to blow up? Because I think the Bucks are on the table with Doc Rivers, with an older roster. Bobby Portis, I think, gets traded before the deadline. It's a weird fit in Milwaukee. They played awful basketball in the last month of the season last year. Bad vibes. The playoffs are weird. Giannis didn't play. Giannis, the prime of his career, I think it's well within the realm of possibility Giannis may want out. I think it's more likely Kevin Durant wants out. Oh, Bryce said, won't that discredit Kevin Durant in the sense that he has to go back to Golden State to get his rings? No, it will not, because they need him this go-around. The Golden State Warriors needed Kevin Durant in 2016 to become the most unstoppable team of all time. The Warriors are not championship contenders today. They were not only contenders in 2016, they were the favorite. Even when they lost to Cleveland, they were the favorites going into the 2017 season. I think they would have beaten Cleveland in 2017. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that would have been the case. But you had prime Kevin Durant. Well, now all of a sudden it's an unfair. I think it's a harsh word in sports. It's sports. Get over it. But it's the deck is stacked against the Cavs in that spot. As great as Cleveland was that season, they need Kevin Durant. When Kevin Durant joins the Warriors, the culture's there, the leader's there, the basketball. The basketball, not the vibes, but the culture is there. Who's to say it can't happen? You're telling me Kevin Durant's relationships in Golden State are just forever fractured? Seems to get along with Steph pretty well. Him and KD seem to be on better. Him and Steve Kerr seem to be on better terms. I think KD respects guys like Brandon Pajemski, who was with Team USA during training camp. Trace Jackson-Davis, who's on the Warriors with Team USA during training camp. I think Kevin Durant's impressed by a kid like Jonathan Kuminga. Kevin Durant is a student of the game of basketball. And he appreciates, players who play the game the right way. Well, nobody plays the game, or I should say nobody. Few teams play the game the right way as it pertains to ball movement, defense, the whole bit, like the Golden State Warriors. It's what attracted him to the Warriors 8 years ago. Kevin can comfortably say, and the Warriors can comfortably say, we need him this go-around. You tell me you've heard crazier things? I mean, nobody thought KD would go the first time when the Warriors were amazing. 73 wins, champions in 15, almost champions in 16. Steph, back-to-back MVP. That's never going to... Holy crap, KD's on the Warriors. That was a lot crazier than KD getting dealt to Golden State midseason. So I want to reiterate, Draymond and Steph's job this season, because the Warriors don't have a primary secondary scorer. I've heard Brandon Ingram put out there. I don't think that would work at all. I've been a Brandon Ingram guy over the years, but from what I've heard out of New Orleans, not a great locker room guy, kind of aloof. That doesn't work in Golden State. It just doesn't. You could say KD can be aloof, but teammates love Kevin Durant over the course of his career. They speak very highly of the guy. Team USA can't speak highly enough of Kevin Durant. He's a good dude, loves basketball, good locker room guy to have. Just you don't need necessarily want KD to be your leader, and he said as much. Steph and Draymond's job, keep the Warriors afloat for 4 months, keep them as a 5-6 seed-ish, be able to convince the front office, like, hey, guys, if you can get us that one last piece, hey, we can add another banner to this beautiful arena at the Chase Center in San Francisco. Oh, no. I'm just saying, I think that needs to be the Warriors' very next target. Giannis is a pipe dream. If it happens, hip, hip, hooray. That'd be amazing. But that seems kind of unlikely. KD, what? Do we buy Phoenix this year? I mean, I liked them adding Tyus Jones. You know, I like Tyus Jones, but I don't think it's the difference between them being swept in the first round and hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy. I love Tyus Jones, but come on. So there you go. All right, that is all the time we have for today's show. Fun, lively show today, man. Defending Steve Kerr, giving Steph, KD, and LeBron, the old heads, their due respect for coming up absolutely clutch against Serbia. Oh, and by the way, we going to beat France. Come on now. We're going to be friendly in respect to France. By the way, I did predict that we would face France in the gold medal game. Wemby has struggled offensively, but been great on the other side of the floor. I don't imagine Rudy Gobert has much of an impact because, come on, it's Rudy Gobert. But France has got some good scores. They had a game the other day, I think it was against Canada, where France had 2 guys go for over 20 points. So they have some scores. Wemby's there. They've got size. So France can be challenged. I don't think Team USA walks all over France. My guess is about a 12-point win. Steph does his thing. LeBron does his thing. Who's the catalyst for Team USA? Who's the guy that, let's see, France is a big team. I'd say Anthony Davis. Let's say Anthony Davis is kind of like the big catalyst off the bench for Team USA because KD's going to start. So there you go. All right, so Team USA beats France tomorrow. Wins gold, cements themselves as the greatest men's basketball team ever assembled in the history of the Olympic Games. Very excited for that tomorrow. And by the way, the women are going to take the gold as well. They won today in the semifinal game. They're going to get gold as well. And Team USA in general, not just basketball, but in general, is going to come away with the most medals because, ladies and gentlemen, that is American excellence at its finest. There's not a time I feel more patriotic than during the Olympics. It is my love of sports and my love in country combined, and it is a beautiful thing to see. All right, that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving It Up Live on Monday. Man, we'll have a lot to talk about at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, right here on Twitter, as well as the Carving It Up YouTube channel and the Grid Network YouTube channel. As always, be sure to like, share, comment, and please take 2 seconds out of your day. Hit that big red subscribe button down there. It helps the channel grow exponentially. We are trying to get to 5, count that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 subscribers. So any support that we can get means everything. We're on the path to that goal. We got to 1,000 a few months ago. That was an amazing feeling, just to feel the love and the support and feeling this channel grow. So again, to those who have not subscribed, just takes a couple seconds, 2 seconds out of your day. Just takes a couple seconds. Hit the subscribe button down there, and you're part of the Carving Up family. If you have not subscribed, or rather, if you have subscribed to Carving Up Live, please tell your friends about it, your family about it, everybody know about it except for your sleeping cat. Nealon's been in a good mood. Nealon has, cats have this tendency, they love cardboard boxes. I don't know if that's a Nealon thing. I don't know if that's a tabby cat thing. Whatever it is, cats love cardboard boxes, but that's Nealon's been in his a lot today. Just have a random, old food box or something. He just lays in it. He loves it. So, aside from your cat, tell everybody you know about the show. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. And just as importantly, be sure to go subscribe to the Grid Network. That is GRYD, the Grid Podcast Network, right here on YouTube, as well as any and everywhere you get your favorite podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any and everywhere that you get your favorite podcasts. You can find us, the Grid Network, where we dare to be different. Fun show today. Had a blast. Absolutely loved it. All right. See you on Monday. Please be sure to stay safe out there. Please be sure to take care of your physical as well as your mental health. And please, please, please be sure to contact your local state representatives and senators to demand change for gun violence in America. It doesn't matter where you lean, right, left, center. This is an issue that affects every single one of us as Americans on a day-to-day basis. And no matter what anybody on either side of the aisle tries to tell you, oh, it's not a problem. Oh, there's only one solution to the problem. Both are not true. Both are BS. It's a huge problem that needs a number of nuanced, detailed solutions to combat it and hopefully to solve it in the end, especially this being an election year. If you're elected official, be they in office or trying to run for office, do not care about this issue, has shown no sympathy towards those who have been affected by this, either vote them out or vote against them. Because we got to combat this, man. This has got to stop. All right. Taking the gold tomorrow. You know it. Team USA, the Dream Team 2.0. By Monday, I promise I will come up with a better name than Dream Team 2.0 because this team needs its own legacy. Led by the King, LeBron James, the Slim Reaper, Kevin Durant, and the chef himself, the baddest man in the game of basketball, Steph Curry. See y'all on Monday. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. And you already knew what Steph was going to do. Come on now. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.